Hey everybody, it's KingShipton here. I just thought I'd put out a video on my unique K-POC KingShipton Apocalypse build that I've put together myself. I'm the only one playing it. Nobody else is playing it. It's got some unique interactions that I've discovered that allow us to massively increase our damage. And with that, I've been able to get to rank 1 on the leaderboard on the normal solo self-found. What's interesting here is that even when you go to the normal board, I'm still got a clear higher than the normal board where everybody is playing Lunatic build. Everybody else on my solo self-found below me is playing Lunatic build. And this is the only case of a class that is doing better on the solo self-found than on the normal. And that's simply because nobody else is playing this build. Nobody else has found what I've discovered, and I thought I'd share that with you now. So I will go over the few things that make this build very special and why they're important. And so the first one being, of course, this season they buffed the Moloch's amulet to now do 30% damage for every skill that's volatile. As you can see, volatile is when they've got the fire around them. I have 4 skills here that are volatile. I have a 5th one. This one during combat becomes volatile and stays volatile pretty much the entire combat. So I have 5 skills doing damage, doing extra 30%, so that's 150% there, as well as the skill increase, which takes my willpower from 2,600 to around 3,800, so it's a big damage increase there of about another 30%. So that's 180. That is not unique to my build. This is everybody can use this. What I have done is something that's quite unique here, is what's very important for the Apocalypse Warlock is survival. We don't have much damage reduction, so we rely significantly on nether step damage reduction to survive and do anything in this game, right? So we need to nether step and do this. As you can see, I don't have on my skill bar because it can't be volatile. So I lose 30% by damage having it on here. So how do I solve that? I use the footfalls. Now this it allows us to have 7 charges when I have the plus maximum evade charges. So I've moved my damage reduction over to evade. That alone is not even that important. What I've also discovered is that the new heresy aspect, which allows us to have for every different occult skill we cast 28% damage for 20 seconds. It didn't used to work this one, but now it does properly. So every occult skill I cast for 20 seconds, I get 28% extra damage, right? So I have 5 on the bar here. This evade, which is my nether step, also counts as an occult skill because nether step is an occult skill by default. So I learned that, okay, we can actually have 5 on here. I can't make the bombardment an occult skill, but the evade is. So I have 6 stacks from this. So that's a unique interaction I found. So by moving nether step over to my evade, I've been able to put on Sigil of Subversion onto my bar, which I will get into, but that triple dips multipliers. I'll get into that. I've been able to put this on, which is an occult hellfire skill, so it can be volatile. It can also be the 28% multiplier. So I've been able to gain 1 extra 30% multiplier. I've been able to gain 1 extra 28% multiplier from the evade nether step. So that's already something it doesn't feel like anybody else has found out or thought about, but you know, I've been able to make that happen. The next part being Scepter of the 3 is basically our biggest damage increase. It's up to a 260% damage when we've built up the stacks, plus 15 ranks to our ultimate, which equates to about 30% damage. So this weapon alone is a 290% damage multiplier. I don't have it on compared to this one. I don't have a very good version of it, but we do get to have it as a charm. So this is our strongest charm by far. It's 130% damage multiplier because we still get the 15 ranks and up to 100. Now, what is unique that I've discovered is that stacking those 20 stacks is a real hassle. So, for example here, I'll wait for the wolves to disappear. They're gone. So, I have the charm on. Even with me having 80% attack speed, I go crazy. I've got 7 stacks, 8 stacks, 9, 10, 13. It takes forever, and you can't cast you shouldn't cast your ultimate, my Apocalypse, my bigger damage, until I have the 20 stacks, right? So that's too long. I'm not going to wait. It drops off after 3 seconds, although there is a bug that makes it last sometimes up to 10 seconds, and we'll get into that. But like, yeah, it takes too long if I have to wait 5 seconds to build up 20 stack every time. We can't use our strongest weapon or our strongest charm. What did I discover? The wolves build the stacks very fast. So once you have the wolves up, because it takes about, I don't know, 8 seconds to get to your maximum 6 wolves. We'll just let there be a few more. Now I have 6. If I start attacking, right, look, 7, 10, 20, done. It's super quick to get up to the 20 stacks. So I use the wolves. The wolves also double dip because I use the Godslayer crown to bring everything in and damage them. And with all my charms having chance to stun, chance to freeze, chance to daze, my wolves trigger all those. So when they're out and about jumping around me and attacking stuff, they're sucking in everything into me so that I can kill it very quickly. That's super important for tower pushes and pit pushes because you just destroy everything on the screen very quickly. For an example, 3 elite bosses in the tower. Sometimes you spend a long time trying to kill the 3 because they're all separated and you're killing one on the side and you're killing one. So while arguably this Lucian helm does a lot more damage, even with me not having to worry about the wrath costs, it's just sometimes super fiddly. I may have to do 140 tower push plus, switch over to this Lucian, and just really hope that I get a very clean single elite run. But yeah, we'll see how we go. But for now, Godslayer crown for everything, speed farming, everything, it does great. Yeah. Last thing being, yeah, so the Heresy, we have the Moloch extra, we have the Nether Step over there, we have the Godslayer crown. I'll quickly go through the gear that we have here. Like I said, Godslayer crown, super lucky with the transfig there. Fleshwick Carapace, that's standard. World Breaker, that's standard. You want to make sure that this is your crafted item unless you get a good one to drop. But if you don't have it, you need to craft this. It's a massive upgrade for 400 to 520%. On the boots, we have the damage reduction. We have the footfall. You want the evade charges. On the weapon, like I said, you want the Heresy. That's been fixed this season, so now I can have up to 6 stacks, so it's 168% damage increase on the weapon. Nothing else comes close to having that on except for the Scepter. Having said that, when I use this one, I can use the Scepter of the 3 charm, which is by far our best charm, so it's 130%. If I use the Scepter of the 3 here instead for the big 290%, I have to pick between 2. There's 120% to Isolated, which is great for bosses or for the end boss of a tower, or a 40-ish% damage increase from Banished Lords, because now we only have 7 stacks of Overpower. By the way, we do not build for Overpower at all. It's dead to us now, don't care about it, and it hasn't affected my damage that much now, because I've made up for it in other places. Of course, the Molochs, and what's important here is you want to get the Vampiric Curse on as the special aspect that you can transfig on that allows us to have vulnerable on all of our creatures all the time. Okay, so going to the ring, this we add in the strongest aspect we have in the game, which is the Hex increases crit strike chance by 20%. So we get up to 3 stacks for 60%. Crit has been like, we're starved for crit in this game now since they took out Starless Sky, big crit on it. Even if you get a Starless Sky, it doesn't have crit on it, and if you do, it's only 10% now base, or whatever it was, lower. It's not going to be the big one it used to be. Same with Erepedition, that's gone, we don't have that. So we don't have crit anywhere, we need to have it. This is why I said Sigil of Subversion triple dips, because one, it acts as a Hellfire skill for the 30%, it acts as an Occult skill for the 28%, and it allows us to cast Hex on creatures to get up to 60%. Hex. Now, normally you cast it and it starts off 1 stack, builds up 2, builds up 3. And that's good, and you get to your 3. During the power within on our charms, you can spam that, right? So you get the power within, you're getting that every, I have 2.5 seconds downtime between it. Then you can spam it. So when you're on a boss, you can just triple cast it and get up to maximum stacks instead of waiting for it to build up. But it's castable, and we can cast it where we want, compared to when you have it just here. When you have the 5 set, you get all base sigils whenever you cast. See, I cast it there and it casts it up here, but you don't get to choose where that's placed. It's always up to the right, and that's sometimes not convenient. Like the boss is not over there unless I position myself, and I'm not going to do that, right? This means I can cast it, boom, it's on the creature that I'm aiming at, right? As well as the triple tips, right? So, yeah. Then on the ring, you have a few options. I use Cremator, it's a 65%. You could also do Ignition, which is a 60%, but we get to keep volatile skills more likely to be volatile. That's really only important from Bombardment. As you can see, volatile is when it's got the fire around it. Bombardment does not have that. During combat, you get it, and it can drop off. If you cast it a few times, it drops off because you use up the volatile casts. And when it's totally off, you're losing 30% damage. However, you're casting so often all these abilities and creating volatile that I haven't noticed this ever losing it. I have to go back and check gameplay. So I still think it's worth having the 65%. If you do use the Scepter of the Three as your weapon, you would move Heresy over to the ring instead. Because Heresy would be 14% times 6, because you get 6 stacks. 84%. There's no other aspect you can get on the ring that is doing close to 84% damage increase. And that's why my build is unique, because I really think you're only meant to have 4 or 5 stacks, but I've been able to find effectively and efficiently 6 stacks of Occult from Netherstep being on the evade. Okay, so moving on to the runes. Pretty standard. We need the Earthen Bulwark. You have 2 options here. You can either use Igni, which is a sort of a set and forget and you just have it, or you can use it cast on Ultimate, which refreshes it every second once you're in combat. So that's quite good against stronger content. However, you don't have it outside of combat, and sometimes you need the barrier up. Like right now, because I've been sitting here for a while, I straight away have the barrier up outside of combat, right? And I don't have to cast it. So sometimes just trying to get into combat, you need that barrier up, so I prefer to use Igni. And then, of course, I have the Wolves, maintain 1. Start of a tower push. Because I have this demon here, I get 1 wolf, then that becomes 3, then it becomes 6, right? So at the start of a tower, I usually wait out the 10 seconds, so I have at least 3-4 wolves. So when I go engage my first creatures, I straight away get up to 20 stacks very quickly, and I don't have to wait around for those 20 stacks on my Scepter, Charm, or Weapon to build up. Having said that, that's only important for tower and for pit push. When I'm doing all other content, I don't give a damn about the stacks. I just rush through and a fight and a kill, and whatever's happening is happening, right? So it might be more important if you're using the Scepter of the Three, because the difference between 2 stacks to 20 is massive compared to the damage from 2 stacks to 20 on this one. It's much less of a damage loss, but still, I don't ever think about it. Bosses, no, nothing else. Only for pit pushes do I really try to maintain that 20. There is a bit of a bug, like I said. The 20 stacks is supposed to drop, or the stacks in general are supposed to drop once after 3 seconds after casting your ultimate. Sometimes it bugs out and it's 10 seconds. There are pros and cons to this. It's great when you're at 20 stacks, because that 10 seconds is nice to get to another boss or a creature pack and cast without losing the stacks and having to wait to build it up. It sucks if by accident you've only been at 4 stacks. Oh god, I'm on 4 stacks, right? Now you have to wait 10 seconds for it to drop so you can start building up 20 again, right? Because once you're at a stack level, you can't build on from that. You have to wait for it to fully go to 0, then build up again. So it's important to note that that bug does exist. I don't know what is causing the bug. There is another bug with Apocalypse. We can't cast Apocalypse at the world boss. Don't know why. It's just a bug. It's been like that way since the start of season. So yeah, we're pretty screwed for world boss. Okay, so if I look, I'm not going to go into too much detail here. This is all standard. It's all the nameless you want. And as you can see, my secondary things, I like to have the stuns or the freeze or whatever. Not a big deal. So you just want a 6 charm slot. You don't need the mythic. We don't need to mix sets. It's all good. And you use the Scepter of the Three or the Rustbitten or the Banished. The one thing that I will point out here that is unique and maybe people won't have noticed, but I did, is that you can have Occult or Hellfire, right, on here. Now, for Apocalypse, neither matter. Occult or Hellfire is fine, it all ramps the damage. There is one place where having Occult is better than having Hellfire, and that's for Command Valak. As you can see, Command Valak's Wrath regeneration is 375%. I can't put points into Command Valak normally, but if I take off this one, which has 3 occult, now it's 340%. Nothing else changed, just that one, 340%, right? So it does increase the Wrath regeneration, which is super important. It's very spammable, this Command Valak through the Power Within, because that's another new change they added. It's an occult skill now. They added that in Season 14, so it adds to the multiplier on the Heresy. But it also means that when this triggers the power within, I get to spam this, so I never have to worry about it being any downtime on Wrath, right? Which makes Lucian Helm very usable, because once you're in the combat, you're just spamming this every couple of seconds, and you don't even worry about the cost of this. I still prefer Godslayer Crown for almost all content, but yeah, the very, very highest pushes, I'll probably have to switch to Crown of Lucian if I want to get above 138. Not anything else to talk about there. And then, yeah, of shards, that's all very normal. Skill tree. Okay, I'll only point out the things that are important. You can look at the build link. Bombardment's normal. Umbral, you want this because it's Occult and Hellfire. That's why it's better than Blazing Scream. It also builds up stacks a little quicker. Dark Prison, super important with the Weaken, the Fortify. As you'll notice, I don't have any heal on my board. And people, that may be the biggest thing people are confused by. How is he healing? What's going on? I don't have it. I don't have it on my weapon. I have one by accident transfig here, but I wish I had something different, almost anything else other than this, because I don't need it. You have the barrier up so often. You have so much fortify regen that, and from Godslayer Crown, basically soft CC and everything, every time it sucks in, you always have a chance for the fortified to heal back up. So I don't even use anything to heal. And that's literally because of this fortify on the Dark Prison, which I basically cast. Again, you get to spam it during Power Within. Netherstep doesn't have any skills at the end, but again, it's just a 60% damage reduction. There's nothing. The only real important thing out of all these three things is Sigil Subversion. You want to make sure you've got it on can be placed at long range. If you don't have it placed at long range, as you can see here, when I cast it, it's always just directly in front of me. Whereas if you do it, and it's, you know, it's just, that's the option, right? But if you do it from back here, right, you can cast it all the way up there on the boss. And this is sometimes very important for like just positioning. You're coming up to a big group of creatures, you want to put it down ahead of time on them so that it starts ramping up to the 3 stacks, so by the time you get to them and they're sucked into you, you get 60% crit increase on them. So definitely make sure you have the cast at long range. I like to have Sigil Subversion, Sigil of Summon, sorry, with the Hellworm, because once that pops and you see the purple creature, every time you cast a bombardment, you get an extra stack. And so you're casting more bombardments by accident, basically, by automatic. And that's important for the Paragon board, which I'll get into in a second. Nothing different here, nothing different here. There is one small change here, of course. We got nerfed heavily, but there was one improvement. It went from 2 seconds to 3 seconds that we have, and 200% when hexed. So that goes from 6 seconds to 9 seconds that if a creature is hexed, they take more damage. This is pretty good. It's a quality of life change, because if we do have to move and to get around things to heal or to save ourselves and not cast an Apocalypse, we have a little bit longer before that damage increase drops off the creature. If I go to Paragon Board, again, I'm not going to go into too much detail. It's quite boring, right? But I will talk about one small thing. There is one place you could have a little bit more damage. I use Greater Hex. It's a 75% permanent increase and a 25% reduction. You could use Ritualism here instead of what I've got going on, but check out my Paragon board on the build guide. But it's a 90% increased Ritualism compared to 75%. But I think it's out. That 15% damage increase is outweighed by the 25% damage reduction you get from Greater Hex, because again, if really, I'm aiming to just stand still and just spam Apocalypse. I'm not trying to move around, dodge attacks as much as possible, right? Because you're just losing damage if you're moving. So I think this outweighs it. But again, I may have to test it out a little bit more. Everything else is pretty standard. I won't get into it, except to say we don't build for overpower anymore. So I'd love to get rid of Unbound, but it's the 5th best glyph we have as far as damage. I don't use Wrath. I don't need the crit. Even for Lucian, I don't need the generating 1 Wrath. I don't need generating Wrath on the rings. The Wrath regeneration from Command Valak is by far enough to even maintain Lucian Helm. Mercenaries, it's all standard. I will talk about stats a little bit. I have 81% attack speed. I did a lot of testing on attack speed, 20%, 60%, 100%, everything, a lot of videos on this for myself. And attack speed is vitally important, and that's why I have it on my weapon, 28%. I have it on the rings. The rings are an amazing place to have it because it's overvalued on the rings. As in, it's the same value that you can get on the rings as your amulet and gloves, whereas normally every other stat is doubled on the amulet or the gloves, or a better way to think of it, every other stat is halved on the rings, such as crit damage, vulnerable, but attack speed isn't. So it's a fantastic place. Never have attack speed on these unless it comes with it, right? Have it on your rings and max it out. And I also max it out here. I'll give you a small example here. When I did 20% attack speed versus 81%, I doubled the amount of Apocalypse that I get to cast at the same strength, right? And I also ramp up the damage reduction, the damage from bombardment. So from the demonic spickles board, I ramp that up quicker where I'm trying to get to 120 stacks, right? More important is the downtime between the power within is far less. So when I'm playing with 90% or 80% attack speed, I have about 2.5 seconds downtime between each power within. And now, just in case you didn't know, power within is a massive damage multiplier. It's 400% on top. So when I have power within, I have 400% damage multiplier. That is for all my attacks. Everything gets to cast for free. I get to spam Command Valak and keep the Wrath regeneration up. I get to do everything. Spam Sigil Subversion to get it up 3 stacks is vital important. When I was at 20% attack speed, I had 6 to 7 seconds downtime between every power within, waiting for it to build back up by completing sigil rituals. That means I was out of that 400% damage and increase and only somewhere between the 100 and 200% for the vast majority of the time. So having attack speed double dips in the way of you get way more Apocalypse, plus those Apocalypse are way more likely to be in the 400 damage percent compared to the 100 to 200 damage percent, plus you're getting to cast for free, keeping everything up, keeping your Dark Prison going. So attack speed, vital. And because of the Calamity, which saves our butt with the 60% ring, I only have 26% crit strike. I'd like to get to 40. I've had 40 before, but much less attack speed. But, I wouldn't want less than 20% naturally. So try to gain between 20 to 40%. Build up your attack speed as much as possible. Remember, Vayana also gives me another 10% every now and then. You don't want to overcap. That's about it. I'll go into the skill rotation and show a little bit of video of that. And also, if you want to watch the gameplay at the end, I can you'll see me destroy Mephisto in a second without moving. Lilith is a second without moving. And I'm hoping to see next week more Apocalypse builds on the leaderboard, because if you want to be on the top of the leaderboard, you're going to have to play Apocalypse. Okay, so let's go through the skill rotation. Of course, you want to make sure you have Valak up. Once you cast him, he's up all the time, right? Of course, and then his command Valak becomes available. You want to make sure that is up all the time because of the Wrath regeneration, and also he pays your health costs, because with the soul shards we use, every time you cast some of your skills, it costs you health, right? So you want to make sure that's up at all time, and especially during the power within, you make sure you refresh it. Then you're going to want to cast Bombardment to get 1 stack up to the 7 and keep that up. You want to cast Dark Prison. Now you've got your first occult. You want to cast at least 1 Umbral, but you'll be spamming Umbral, don't worry about that. You want to Nether Step so that you have another occult up, and you cast your Valak, and as you can see, then you put down your thing. You want to put down your Hex. You have 20 stacks from the wolves. I had that a long time ago, but I'm just showing you here. And then you start apocalypsing, right? Remember, you're getting double of them every time. You're getting 360 trillion, 350 trillion. I only have 5 stacks right now. Now I'll go back to 6 occult, so that would get even bigger, another 28%. Well, this is just on 1 target. It's obviously much easier when it's multiple targets. So you're getting to spam out pretty big damage all the time, and you just keep that up. And remember, when you're doing this as a speed farm, everything's getting sucked into you. So if you have any questions about the build, if you have any comments, you have any thoughts, maybe even see something that I could improve, please let me know in the comments. If you like the video, subscribe, follow. I'm going to be putting up more videos, visual clutter comparison between season 13 and 14, probably more tower push this season. And I expect to see a lot more Apocalypse on the board now, because it is the strongest build. Like, I'm capped out. I'm not even capped out at the strongest gear. I look at the Lunatic. They've got better gear than I have for my build, as an example. I don't even have my best weapon yet. So let's see. I think I can get a 140, 141 tower clear next week. Let's see how we go. I'm going to put up some gameplay video. You can have a little look at the different speed farming, boss, 140 plus, etc. And you can have a little look at how the Apocalypse is performing and if you enjoy it. And then, yeah, leave a like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.